guest has 2 decades of hands-on experience in personal and business growth. He helps entrepreneurs face their challenges, uncover their secret sauce, and get their lives and businesses to peak performance so they can truly live the life of their dreams. He uses strategic mapping and heart-led guidance to help business authentically thrive in today's climate and beyond. He's also hosted his own TV show. He's a high-performance athlete, which I can't wait to find more information about, and has competed for nearly 20 years as both a high performance rower and coach in both the USA and Canada. Everybody, please welcome James.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Jill, for that introduction. That's lovely. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. I've got some questions that I have prepared that I'm excited to jump in and chat about. So, the both of us help entrepreneurs, and I really am curious what was the interest for you in helping all of us folks?
Yeah, great question out of the gate. Well, I think entrepreneurs are very similar to athletes, and I'm sure we'll talk about athletics at some point based on your on your comment. Uh, Entrepreneurs are creative, driven minds, and there's no secret why many high performance athletes end up being coaches, being business advisors. I mean, how many Olympians do we know of end up having a career in that arena? Because it's it's not only speaking the same speak, and it's also doing exactly what needs to be done from an athletics mindset and from that of an entrepreneur mindset. So for me, it seemed like a natural fit. And above all, Jill, at the end of the day, what I love is everybody, doesn't matter what they're doing in business and in life, everyone is a personal business unto themselves, first and foremost. And that's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
I completely agree with that. I think is one of the most important things that you can learn in the very beginning when you're just starting out your business is realizing that you are your own brand and it's important how you represent yourself. So, what do you think is the most challenging thing when we talk about performance as a business owner?
Yeah. It very much again similar to the athlete. It depends on the business owner. Everyone comes to the table with his or her own unique skill set, strengths, and of course challenges. Uh, Follow through and especially with small business and entrepreneurship, it's really wearing multiple hats and learning how to juggle the different balls of what it means to be in business for ourselves, um, to be of service, and also to run a business, right? Because you've probably seen, Jill, a lot of people, some are these creative geniuses. Man, they're like mad scientists. They scheme and dream and they come up with all these great business ideas, concepts. And then when it comes time for the follow through or the doing, they trip on their own shadow. They just and then on the other side of that spectrum are the doers, the task oriented, check the box, check the box, check the box, but then they don't have that big vision thinking of building that cathedral, and where each of us are, so that we can maximize our strengths and mitigate our challenges, or bring people in that will strengthen what we're challenged with.
I think that's definitely the most important thing is that I always tell people you have to ask for help before you're ready because entrepreneurship is kind of like dodgeball. Like you mentioned, it's kind of like juggling and spinning all the plates and doing all the things. I think when you have to be a little half crazy to get into this line of work and be like, I'm gonna build this cathedral. I'm gonna do all these
Mhm.
things. And if you're lacking on one side or the other, it's okay to ask for help and make sure that, there's people out there that can assist you in any way possible.
Oh, 100%. I think getting into being a smart business owner, you have to not only realize that, Jill, and you also have to surround yourself with those people and with the right people, those that are in alignment with who you are as a person, as a brand, and what your mission is out there in the world.
Absolutely. What do you think the best strategy for a business owner to deal with their challenges is?
Well, assessment. So, every in my opinion, I mean, in the business people that I work with, we have a constant assessment phase that's built into our monthly rhythm of how we show up and work together. So, this constant kind of assess, reassess, course correct moving forward helps to mitigate some of those challenges, figuring out it, and within those challenges, understanding or labeling the severity of them. Which are my bleeding artery challenges, which are my just kind of like nicks that are like, a little paper cut, and then of course, having your, as I like to say, the Knights of the Round Table, having your kind of go-to squad of people that you bring in to kind of help bring that part of the equation up.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that's the most important thing. Again, bringing it back to having your team ready to go, even if that is not necessarily your employees, but also having your accountant, your attorney. Like, I
Mhm.
call them my like board of directors because they're the people that I lean on, bounce ideas off of as we're, building this business. There's so many things that can happen and come at us. We've got to be able to adjust quickly.
You do. You do. And having that ability to adapt. Adaptability is such a crucial component to being in business, especially in this ever-changing landscape that we're in.
Oh my
You
gosh,
have
totally
to
agree.
have the ability to bounce back, be resilient, and be, as I call, passionately unattached to whatever happens.
Yeah, I
Right?
definitely agree with that. What do you think about personal growth in regards to like building a business? Because I feel like that goes hand in hand with
Mm.
adaptability and being able to adjust.
Great question. Yeah, that is a fundamental cornerstone for me with every business owner that I work with. Out of the gate, I assess their personal brand. I assess, is their business congruent with who they are as a person? Because if it's not, misalignment will always show itself. Always. It's a non-negotiable. And I see it all the time. And we've seen it. You've seen it as well in terms of on a broader scale. Whether it's social media influencers, whether it's people out there that by all accounts are doing the thing, but you're like, uh, I don't I don't know if I'm jiving 100%, or there's just something I can't put a finger on it. All those That's part of it. It's just like that's not being representative of what the personal brand is. So uh, again, understanding the warrior makeup, the conscious warriors is what's my whole shtick, if you will, is understanding what is that code that does get me out of bed in the morning, that does greet me with being on a podcast with Jill. And then if I was to leave here and go to Starbucks and talk to a stranger, it's the same exact James Gardiner that shows up.
Yeah.
And getting that to be first and foremost understood, I think is step number one.
And I know that you talk a lot about the hero within. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that means to you?
Yeah, yeah. Truth, truth, to put it as simply as I can.
Yeah.
To get to that point is never a simple thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
for
but
sure.
that's really what it is. For me, it was a culmination of my journey to really understand who I am at that core. And it took 3 years of what I call my jungle event. James went deep into the jungle on a search for himself, to reconnect to the inner child, to the little Jimmy, as I like to say, and understanding that truth, and therefore, walking out of that jungle now with that hero within. Uh, the world is a different place. The perception is different. The wonder, of waking up to the day is different, and I think for me that is the hero within. I was always somebody that associated with the hero with external validation, with the accolades of rowing, or being on stage in New York and being on TV and doing these things, and that doesn't amount to a hill of beans. if your units of happiness from the core aren't where they need to be. So the hero within is really on having that truth and that happiness within as I walk forward each day.
Going through that incredible experience, what do you think inspires you to be the best that you can be?
Got a couple hours.
I know, right? That's a big
uh
one.
oh, it's a great question, Jill. Honestly, I owe it to, I owe it to my little self. I owe it to the dreamer that I used to be as a
Mhm.
kid.
Absolutely.
um I, as many of us do, I had many dreams and plans, and a reality that I created of when I had the ability to wave a magic wand. And I talk about this, in the book that I'm writing, and some of the speaking gigs that I do. Uh, we all were Beethovens once, and we had the ability to create our ode to joy, our masterpiece. And that's part of the hero within journey for me. Um, and and I just feel like I owe it to myself. Um, and then the ticking of the clock is nice and loud in the background, right? We're not getting any younger, so
Absolutely. And especially after the year we've just had, it like completely shifts everything into perspective, and you're like, okay, it's time to go.
it is.
Can't
It's
wait
go
any
time,
longer.
right? Go time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, in regards to your athlete career, I would love to jump into that because I love athletics. I love the Olympics. It's just something that I enjoy watching on TV. And so I know we talked briefly about someone being, going from high performance athlete transitioning into that high performance engine and entrepreneur. How do you think those are similar? What are some of the common mindsets that you think both, that they go together?
An unwavering discipline towards a commitment, towards a contract with your soul, if you will.
Mhm.
You the entrepreneur and the in the high performance business, high performance sport, and when we're having this conversation for those out there, I mean, high performance is is more of a mindset, or it can be equated to a level, sure, a level of performance in a sport, and it's also just the way you tackle that sport. I've met many um, recreational or athletes that have never gone to the big worlds of the Olympics, but they still approach what they're doing from a high performance, and they give everything, right? They're all in, they train, they understand, and this is a big one, Jill. A true athlete understands all that encompasses how they show up in that sports arena. Uh, why do I do the training I do? What effect certain training has on my physiology, for example. Understanding the importance of nutrition and how rest and recovery and adaptation and all of that, biomechanic training, the fundamental of ABCs, all of that, understanding that is crucial. And the same thing with the business owner. Understanding everything that needs to go in to having a vision, to creating a tangible concept of that vision, bringing people in possibly to champion certain things, whether it's marketing, whether it's web design, online revenue schemes, strategist coaching, whatever it is, and doing what it takes to get yourself to the starting line, because that's half the battle. If you don't get to the starting line, you don't got a shot at winning anything.
Well, and I think it's about showing up every day too, because as athletes, like that's what you do. You train every single day. Maybe not physically in the gym, but it's about, making sure that your health goals are on point and, eating the right foods. And I feel like we always interact with those entrepreneurs that have some sort of a health event that, change their world because maybe they weren't taking care of themselves as well as they
Mm.
should have been, or, they were just focusing on their entrepreneurial journey and not necessarily on their health. So they were, eating the bad foods and not getting enough rest and things like that. I would love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think that old world sweat equity mindset, that's gone the way of the dinosaur, and it's going the way of the dinosaur. People are just smartening up. It's about working smarter, not harder, and it's about smelling the damn roses. And at the end of the day, it sounds so cliche to say, right? But we hear this all the time. Well, I can't take anything with me when I die. I'm on my deathbed, and 95% of the people that are on the deathbed have a regret about working so hard. We hear it all the time, and yet many people fall into the same pattern. And it's because, again, and this ties into your question earlier about the hero within and kind of that external validation that I suffered with. We're given a rule book when we walk into adulthood. Do this.
Hmm.
This is how you should. This is what you should wear. This is how you will be judged as being good, sexy, attractive. This, that. How much money you should make. How much you should put away. It's just like of course we're gonna go all in with blinders and put everything else to the side. And now I think we're waking up and being like, well, if I can't walk out of this podcast and take half an hour between my next appointments, look at the ocean from my balcony, what's the point to life? That's the way I look at it, right?
Hmm.
So uh, I work. I have some very successful entrepreneurs who I think have become more successful because they built in that ability to pause. It's part of how they show up every day. They pause.
I think that's such good advice too, because we kind of forget to do that. We get stuck in the rat race of like, going from here to here. When COVID hit, we all, adjusted and we, changed things to go virtually. But for a lot of us, our schedules didn't really change. I mean, of course, we didn't have travel time and things like that, but we still kept going. And I think it's so important to remember that we've got to take time to focus on what's important, because at the end of the day, we are going to be on our deathbeds and
We
realize
are.
like we shouldn't have worked so much. We should have taken a break.
I know. And to be honest, Jill, the same holds true for the high performance athletes. I mean, anything in extreme, living in extreme is never good. And we've
Absolutely.
heard stories, and I'll be the same to say, my marriage imploded mostly because I got back into rowing later on in my life, and I was treating it like it was the damn Olympics.
Mhm.
And it's just like, so I shake my head at it because it's just like I was so in it that I was oblivious to the collateral damage, and that's the same in business too, right? You're too
Absolutely.
all in. You're too all in as an athlete, and then you're like, that's what you hear as athletes. You hear, well, I lost the love of the sport. Well, there you go. There's a reason why.
Mhm.
Same thing with
Absolutely.
same thing with business, right?
Yeah. No, and I think that that's the part that if people are in the throes of business, and if they're kind of what I like to call on the struggle bus, what do you
I
think
like that.
is the best suggestion to get people to that next level? To get out of where they're at and move on to the next thing. Whether that's, a balance of personal life and business, but that growth on both sides can
Hmm.
benefit them.
Well, if I was sitting on the seat of the struggle bus, which I've been on a number of times in my life, uh, I would say getting crystal clear on where do I want that struggle bus to go? What's the stop that's ultimately going to open up those doors and allow me to get off and just be in my glory, whatever that means for each of us. Uh, Clarity is the DNA of mastery. At the end of the day, it comes down to clarity. The more clear we are on anything in this context, in terms of what we want, what if we want balance? Well, what does balance look like? And it's not just some flippant kind of half-witted conversation or moment to think of. It's like, no, you got to go in like you're doing the theory of relativity, go Einstein on it. And it's like, hey, what do I want? What does it look like? How does it make me feel? You need to anchor that stuff in emotion. That gives it reality, right? We talk about manifestation and all of these things, and it's one thing to be intellectual. It's another thing to be heart led and to drop that down, anchor in emotion so that that heart really breathes life, because that's where the senses come in. That's where the texture of life comes in. It's from that heart play, and that's it. Bring it, get clear, bring it down to your heart, put some emotion around it, and then take the very first step.
Yep. Even if it's just a little teeny weeny baby step, that first step is like the big one.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And I
And
think that's true too with like even any like not just like getting into the entrepreneurial journey, but even just working on a big project, something that's overwhelming you is to just take that little bitty step.
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of times we, and myself included, we get caught up in the big step, or we get caught in the, we're trying to traverse the Grand Canyon. It's like, no, like, you can easily get over the Grand Canyon. You just got to go down first and then start walking, right? So it's no different. And yes, sometimes that first teeny bitty step can be still very, very profound. The biggest thing is for all of us, don't get caught up in the how. The how will manifest itself. And when you take that first step, I guarantee you that second step will surface and you'll know where to go to next. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. What do you think is a common myth about entrepreneurs and like the journey that we go on? What's something that you hear consistently from working with your clients that you're just like, whew, I wish people knew that that was a complete myth, not true. Spread the word to everybody thinking about jumping into this journey.
uh, well, I don't know if it's a myth. Let me think about that, but I'm gonna tell you what I see as a common denominator. Most people don't want to do the work. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
I cannot tell you how many clients I've been dealing with over close to 5 years now that just don't want to do what it takes to get the result that they want. They throw a hand grenade in their own living room every day, somehow. Some bigger than others, but and I think that's, and again, Jill, getting back to the athlete analogy here, there's a reason why only a small percentage of athletes go to the Olympic Games,
That's very true.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, there's a million and one gymnasts out there, million and one rowers out there. How many actually make it to the big dance, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what I would say is a common denominator for a myth. Uh, all right, here we go. uh, I hear all the time. Well, you don't understand. This is a good, you don't understand, James. My business is different. My business does this. No,
Totally.
every business is an A, B, C, D business. Period. You gotta lay the stones, and the cracks in the success foundation are all the same for every business owner. Doesn't matter if you do this, if you do this or this or this, or you sell bananas on a sidewalk, doesn't matter. It's the cracks in the ABCDs that always are the same.
I completely agree with that. I hear that a lot too working with my clients is it's just it's like you mentioned, it's their destination destination procrastination, so whatever prevents them from doing the work, and also those cracks in their foundation. And you're just like, if you fix this, you can build this massive cathedral, like you mentioned, but we've got to fix the bottom first. We've got to
Yeah.
start small and build up to that.
Yeah, you do. And taking that to what I was saying earlier about assessing or reassess, actually, you need to pull back, get yourself out of that picture frame that you're in, and take a look back at the foundation. See if there's any cracks forming in the foundation. Are there any misalignment things happening? Sometimes we get so caught up in the business that we forget, why are we doing it? What's the passion play for me to do this? Am I walking in congruence with my heart, with my design? And that's I think that's a very important tool for all business owners. Just like a pilot, right? They always do a walk around and check the aircraft before every flight, right? No difference. You
That's
check your
such good
business
advice.
periodically. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think checking in, because we forget to do that because we're so distracted by all the other things that are coming, that we
yeah,
forget to do that walk around and say, hey, wait a second, pause, check in, and make sure that everything is where it needs to be.
yeah. Super important.
Absolutely.
Super important. Yeah.
Well, I would like you to share with everyone where they can find out more information about you, your coaching program, and everything that we talked about today.
Sure. Would love to. I do have a website. It's called theherowithin.ca. I'm currently in Canada, so it's .ca, The Hero Within. You can always find me on Instagram, Facebook. It's James Gardiner. Of course, there's a few James Gardiners out there, but I think you have the links, Jill. And anything, when you see something like Conscious Warrior, going all in with love, things like that, you'll know you're on the right place. Of course, LinkedIn. And yeah, shoot me a message. Feel free to reach out. I do offer a 45-minute Hero Insight call, complimentary. I sit down and we can riff about anything from personal to business brands to dream scheme, you name it. I'll be there to hold space for each and every one of you, and see if we can't help make all of us a better version of ourselves each and every day.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be sure to share all those links within the show notes, and people can check this video on YouTube. Of course, you can check it out anywhere that you listen to podcasts, but more information is definitely at our website. I'll be sure to link everything down below. Thank you so much, James, for visiting with me today. I appreciate it and all the knowledge that you shared with us.
Oh, thank you, Jill. Mad love to the courageous, as I always say, and it was a pleasure talking with you.